Last month, we finally paid off the truck loan. 5 years of grinding through payments, and it felt like a weight off my shoulders. My wife, Clara, and I celebrated in our small way, just some cheap wine from the back of the pantry, clinking glasses in the kitchen. But something was off. Clara seemed distant, not joyful, like she was just going through the motions. Her eyes kept darting to her phone, and she was texting someone, barely looking at me. I suggested we hit a diner to celebrate, but she brushed it off, saying she was exhausted. So we stayed home. I flipped on the TV, and she disappeared to bed early. The next morning, Clara was back to her usual self, brewing coffee, setting out my favorite mug, and chattering about redoing the dining room. She was scrolling through home decor sites, talking about new curtains we couldn't afford. I thought maybe she'd just been tired the night before, but then I noticed her smirking at her phone. She'd chuckle, mutter something about a silly video, and tuck the phone away. Normally, she'd show me whatever was so funny, but not this time. It bugged me. Clara's never been secretive, so my gut started churning. Here's the deal. Clara and I didn't meet like most folks. We crossed paths at a community cleanup in Texas after a bad flood. I was there with my brother, hauling debris, and she was with a local charity, sorting donations. We ended up working side by side for days, joking and sweating under the sun. That's when I saw her shine, organizing volunteers, making sure everyone was fed, always in charge. I'm more the quiet type, happy to fix what's broken and move on. Over time, though, her need to run everything started wearing on me. She'd make decisions, where we'd eat, what we'd do, and I'd just nod. It kept the peace. Lately, her comments have gotten sharper. She'll toss out little jabs in front of friends, like, "Oh, Mike's fine just being Mike, no big dreams for him." I'd laugh it off, but it stung. During the lockdowns, it got worse. She'd tease about my job, saying I'd never climb the ladder. I let it slide, thinking it was just stress. But it built up. Last Sunday, my laptop was dead, so I grabbed hers. She was out back, yakking on the phone with her cousin. I opened the browser, and her Reddit account was still logged in. Right there, staring at me, was a post titled, "Stuck with a weak, useless husband who'll never be anything." My heart stopped. I didn't even realize it was her at first, but the username was unmistakably hers. I clicked it, and it was a gut punch. She wrote about faking every kind word, every touch, wondering how long she'd last before finding someone worth my time. She painted me as a deadbeat, dragging her down. The comments were worse. She was cracking jokes, lapping up the attention, making me sound like a fool. I sat there, frozen. My hands shook as I took screenshots, snapped photos with my phone, just in case. Clara came inside, all cheery, asking if I wanted pizza. I mumbled, "Sure, whatever." She didn't notice a thing. I slipped into the bathroom, locked the door, and scrolled through every word she wrote. Not once did she mention the late nights I worked to cover bills, the chores I handled, the way I'd always back her up. It was all lies, twisted to make her look like the hero. I felt sick, not just hurt, betrayed. How do you fake love for years? I didn't say a word. I played along, washed the dishes, even grabbed her favorite chips from the store. She suggested a movie, and I sat there, staring at the screen, barely hearing her fake laughs. That night, she tried to curl up next to me in bed. I said I was too warm and shifted away. She didn't push, just turned over. I lay awake, not sad, but plotting. I wasn't going to let her keep treating me like her punching bag. I'd make her see what it's like to lose control, to have her perfect little world unravel. This wasn't about yelling or storming out. It was about hitting her where it hurt, her pride, her image. I started planning, and I'm not backing down. The next few days, I kept my cool, acting like nothing was wrong. Clara went about her routine, oblivious, planning her next big social event, a barbecue for her friends. She's always been the one to host, to make sure everyone's impressed with her perfect house, her perfect life. I used to help out, grilling burgers, setting up chairs. Not this time. I started small, letting things slide. I didn't mow the lawn like I usually do. I left my tools scattered in the garage instead of putting them away. When she asked why the place looked messy, I just shrugged and said, "Been busy." Her eyes narrowed, but she didn't push. Clara's got this thing about money. She's obsessed with tracking every penny, always checking our joint account. So, I quietly opened a new checking account and rerouted my paycheck there. I left just enough in the joint account for my half of the bills, nothing extra. When she noticed the utilities hadn't been paid, she texted me at work, "Did you forget to cover the electric bill?" I replied, "No, I'm splitting things now. Fair's fair." She didn't respond, but when I got home, she was pacing, trying to hide how rattled she was. "Since when do we split bills?" she asked, voice sharp. I said, "Since I felt like it." She stared, waiting for me to back down. I didn't. Her friends, Lindsay, Tara, and Jess, are her lifeline. They're always texting, gossiping about everyone else's drama. Clara's been hyping up a girl's trip to Nashville for weeks, talking about fancy dinners and concert tickets. I was supposed to go along, play the supportive husband. Instead, I texted their group chat, "Can't make Nashville. Work's nuts. Y'all enjoy." Clara stormed into the living room, phone in hand. "What's this about?" You said you were in. I leaned back on the couch and said, plans change. She huffed, trying to bait me into arguing. I just stared at the TV. She slammed a cabinet and left the room. It wasn't just big stuff. I stopped doing the little things she took for granted. I didn't refill her car's gas tank after borrowing it. I didn't grab her dry cleaning. The fridge was a mess, old leftovers piling up, and I let it stay that way. She started snapping, little comments like, guess I'm the only one who cares about this house. I'd say, looks that way. It was driving her nuts, and I could see it. She thrives on control, on me jumping when she says jump. Not anymore. Her family's another sore spot. Clara's mom, Diane, is always in her ear, and Clara plays the dutiful daughter, acting like she's got everything together. Sunday, she was on the phone with Diane, speaker on, while I was in the kitchen. She didn't hear me walk in. Diane asked how I was, and Clara laughed. Oh, Mike's just Mike. I have to do everything around here. That wasn't true. I've always pulled my weight, but I didn't argue. I just grabbed a beer and stepped outside. Diane's got this thing about men being lazy, and Clara feeds into it, making me the butt of their jokes. I used to let it roll off. Now, it's fuel. I started keeping a list on my phone. Every snide comment, every time she tried to guilt me. I didn't plan to show it to anyone, but writing it down felt good, like proof she wasn't as perfect as she pretended. She's always acted like she's above everyone, catching other people's lies. But she's the one hiding, thinking I'd never catch on. That Reddit post was her mistake, and I wasn't going to let it go. By Wednesday, she was slipping. She forgot to confirm a venue for her cousin's baby shower and tried to pin it on me. You could have reminded me, Mike. I said, not my job. Her mom called later, asking why Clara seemed so frazzled. I said, maybe ask her what's going on. Clara overheard and shot me a look, but I didn't flinch. Her friend Tara stopped by with coffee, fishing for gossip. You two okay? She asked. I said, dunno. Might not be. Tara shifted, uncomfortable, and changed the subject. I could tell Clara's crew was starting to wonder. I wasn't just being cold. I was hitting her where it hurt. She loves being the center of attention, the one who's got it all figured out. So, when her barbecue rolled around, I didn't lift a finger. No cleaning, no shopping, no firing up the grill. Her friends showed up, and the yard was a mess, the cooler half empty. Clara scrambled, trying to play it off, but I saw the cracks. Later, she cornered me. Why didn't you help? You made me look bad. I said, you're doing fine on your own. She teared up, locked herself in the bedroom. I didn't follow. I was done playing her game, and this was just the start. Things started heating up after the barbecue fiasco. Clara was unraveling, and I can see it in the way she moved, frantic, like she was trying to hold her world together with both hands. She's always been the one to keep up appearances, but I wasn't giving her the support she counted on. I kept my distance, staying calm, letting her stew. She'd try to pick fights over dumb stuff, like me leaving dishes in the sink. Can't you do anything without me asking? She'd snap. I'd just say, guess not, and walk away. It was like tossing fuel on a fire. She hated that I wouldn't engage. Her friends were starting to notice the shift. Lindsay texted me one evening, all casual, asking if everything was all right. I knew Clara had been venting to them, probably spinning some story about me being distant. I texted back, ask Clara. She's got plenty to say. Lindsay didn't reply, but I bet she went straight to Clara. That night, Clara was extra clingy, hovering around me, asking if I wanted to order takeout or watch a show. I said, I'm good, and grabbed my keys to head out for a drive. She stood in the doorway, arms crossed, and said, you're acting like a stranger. I looked at her and said, maybe I'm just done acting. She didn't know what to make of that. Money was another sore spot. Since I'd split our finances, Clara was scrambling to cover her half of everything. She's always prided herself on being the responsible one, but now she was slipping. She forgot to pay the water bill, and we got a late notice. She tried to blame me, saying I should have reminded her. I said, that's on you now. Her face went red, and she stormed off, muttering about how unfair I was being. I didn't care. She'd spent years making me feel small, and now she was tasting her own medicine. Her family was getting involved, too. Her mom, Diane, called me one afternoon, voice all soft and concerned. Clara says you're not yourself, Mike. Is something wrong? I kept it vague. Maybe Clara's got some things to explain, I said. Diane pushed, saying Clara was stressed and needed me to step up. I just said, she's got her own stuff to figure out. Diane didn't like that, but she backed off. I knew she'd go straight to Clara, and sure enough, Clara came home that night fuming. Why are you dragging my mom into this? She demanded. I shrugged. I didn't. She called me. The real jab came with her social circle. Clara's always been the queen bee, planning every get-together, making sure everyone's in awe of her. She had this big dinner planned with her friends and their husbands at our place. Normally, I'd be out there, setting up the table, grilling steaks, playing the good host. This time, I did nothing. I didn't even stick around. When her friends started arriving, I grabbed my jacket and said, have fun. I'm out. Clara's jaw dropped. You're leaving? Now. I said, yeah, you've got this. The house wasn't ready. Plates stacked in the sink, no drinks in the fridge. Her friends noticed, and I heard later from Tara that Clara was embarrassed, trying to laugh it off like it was no big deal. That night, She cornered me when I got back. You humiliated me in front of everyone, she hissed. I looked her dead in the eye. You know what's humiliating? Reading your wife call you a loser online for strangers to laugh at. Her face froze. She opened her mouth, then closed it, like she wasn't sure if I was bluffing. What are you talking about? She finally said, voice shaky. I didn't show her the screenshots. Not yet. I just said, you know what you did. She backed off, eyes wide, and locked herself in the bathroom. I heard her crying, but I didn't knock. I wasn't falling for her tears. I started boxing up my stuff, my books, my old jackets, my toolbox, and moved them to the garage. She noticed and asked, what's with the boxes? You planning to run away? I said, depends on you. Her lips trembled, but she didn't push. Instead, she tried to act sweet, making my coffee, leaving little notes about how we should talk things out. I ignored it all. She wanted control, but I was done handing it to her. I kept my phone locked, my plans quiet. I wasn't yelling or making a scene. That's what she expected. I wanted her to feel the ground shift under her, to wonder what I'd do next. Her perfect life was cracking, and I was just getting started. Clara was starting to lose her grip, and I could feel it. She's always been the one to keep everything polished, her house, her reputation, her story. But now, with me pulling back, her carefully built world was wobbling. She'd swing between acting like everything was fine and lashing out when I didn't play along. One morning, she made pancakes, set the table all nice, like we were some happy couple. I ate, said thanks, and left for work without another word. She stood there, spatula in hand, looking like she wanted to scream. Can't you at least talk to me? She called after me. I didn't turn around. Her friends were circling now, sensing something was off. Jess stopped by one evening with a bottle of wine, supposedly to catch up. I was in the garage, sorting my tools, when she poked her head in. Everything okay with you and Clara? She asked, all fake concern. I wiped my hands on a rag and said, you'd have to ask her. She's got plenty of opinions. Jess shifted, uneasy, and mumbled something about being there if I needed to talk. I just nodded. Later, Clara was on edge, asking what I'd said to Jess. Nothing she can't handle, I replied. Clara's eyes flashed, but she didn't push. Money was still a sore spot. Clara was struggling to keep up with her half of the bills, and it showed. She'd always been the one to lecture me about budgets, but now she was the one for getting payments. The internet got cut off for a day because she hadn't paid the bill. She tried to pin it on me, saying I should have checked the account. I said, that's your job now. She slammed her laptop shut and stormed out. I knew it was eating at her. She hated looking disorganized, especially when her mom or friends might notice. Her family was leaning in harder. Diane called me again, this time with a sharper tone. Clara's falling apart, Mike. What's going on over there? I kept it short. She's got some explaining to do. Ask her about her online posts. Diane went quiet, then said, what posts? I didn't elaborate. Just ask her, I said and hung up. I knew Diane would go straight to Clara, and sure enough, Clara came home that night looking like she'd been crying. Why are you telling my mom lies? She demanded. I looked at her. I didn't lie. You did, on Reddit. Her face went pale, but she tried to brush it off. You're being paranoid, she said, voice shaky. I didn't argue. I just walked away. The real blow came at a family dinner she'd planned at her parents' place. Clara's always been the star of these events, charming everyone, making sure the conversation stays on her. I usually play along, nodding, passing the potatoes. This time, I barely spoke. When her dad asked how work was, Clara jumped in, answering for me. Oh, Mike's just doing his thing, same old routine. She laughed, but it was forced. I set my fork down and said, actually, I'm fine. Clara's got enough to say for both of us. The table went quiet. Her sister, Emily, glanced at her phone, avoiding eye contact. Her dad raised an eyebrow but didn't say anything. After dinner, Diane pulled me aside. You're not being fair to Clara. She's trying so hard. I looked at her and said, you should see what she says about me online. It's not so pretty. Diane's mouth tightened, but she didn't push. Clara overheard, though, and came charging over. Stop spreading rumors about me, she hissed, loud enough for her sister to hear. I said, I'm not the one posting lies for strangers to read. She froze, then grabbed her purse and stormed to the car. We drove home in silence, her hands gripping the wheel so tight her knuckles were white. Back at the house, she tried a new tactic, playing the victim. She sat on the couch, tears streaming, saying how everyone was turning against her. You're making me look like the bad guy, she sobbed. I stood there, arms crossed. You did that when you called me useless online. Her eyes widened, but she didn't deny it. Instead, she got up, pushed past me, and locked herself in the bedroom. I heard her on the phone, probably crying to Lindsay or Tara. I didn't care. I grabbed a beer, sat in the garage, and added her latest outburst to my list. She thought she could guilt me into backing down. She was wrong. I kept moving my stuff to the garage, my fishing gear, my work boots, my old CDs. Clara noticed and asked, what's with all the boxes? You leaving me? I said, maybe. Depends on how this plays out. Her lip quivered, but she didn't beg. Instead, she doubled down, trying to act like everything was normal, planning another get-together like nothing was wrong. I wasn't going to let her off that easy. Her world was built on me playing my part, and I was done being her prop. She was about to learn what happens when the stage collapses. Clara was scrambling now, and it showed in every move she made. She'd always been the one to hold court, keeping her friends and family wrapped around her finger, but the cracks were too big to hide. She tried to pull me back in with grand gestures, cooking my favorite steak dinner, leaving little notes on the fridge about how we could start fresh. I'd eat the food, say thanks, and keep my distance. Her frustration was boiling over. One night, she stood in the kitchen, hands on her hips, and said, "Are you ever going to stop punishing me?" I looked her square in the eye. "This isn't punishment. It's me seeing you for who you are." She flinched, but didn't back down. "You're blowing everything out of proportion," she said. I just walked away. Her friends were pulling away, too. Tara texted me, asking if I was okay, but I could tell she was fishing for Clara's sake. I replied, "Ask Clara about her Reddit posts. She's got a lot to share." Tara didn't write back. Just stopped coming around altogether, and Lindsay started dodging Clara's calls. Clara noticed, and it was eating her up. She'd scroll through their group chat, muttering about how nobody cared about her anymore. I didn't say a word. She'd built her throne on lies, and now it was crumbling. The money situation was getting worse. Clara missed another bill, this time the car insurance, and tried to guilt me into covering it. "You're supposed to be my partner," she said, voice shaking. I said, "Partners don't trash each other online." She froze, then tried to play dumb. "I don't know what you're talking about." I didn't show her the screenshots yet. I was waiting for the right moment. Instead, I said, "You know exactly what you did. Own it." She stormed off, slamming the bedroom door. I heard her crying, but I didn't go to her. I was done playing the fixer. Her family was in full panic mode. Diane showed up at the house unannounced, all worried and clutching her purse. "Mike, you've got to talk to me," she said. "Clara's a mess." "What's happening?" I leaned against the counter and said, "Your daughter's been calling me a failure online, Diane. That's what's happening." Her eyes widened, but she tried to wave it off. "She's just venting. All couples fight." I shook my head. "Venting's one thing. Lying to make me look like garbage is another." Clara walked in, saw us talking, and lost it. "Stop turning my mom against me," she shouted, shoving my shoulder. I stepped back. "Keep your hands off me, Clara." Diane gasped, but Clara just glared, tears streaming down her face. That night, I took the next step. I sent Diane and Lindsay a single screenshot of Clara's Reddit post, no explanation, just the raw text where she called me a useless husband, and worse. I turned off my phone and went for a walk. When I got back, Clara was waiting, her face red and puffy. "What did you do?" she whispered, holding her phone like it was a bomb. "I showed them the truth," I said. She started yelling, saying I'd ruined her life, that I'd taken everything from her. I said, "You wrote those words, not me." She tried to grab my arm, but I pulled away. "Touch me again, and I'm gone," I told her. She backed off, sobbing, and locked herself in the bathroom. Her phone was blowing up, texts from Lindsay, calls from Diane, even her sister Emily chiming in. Clara tried to spin it, telling them I'd misunderstood, that it wasn't what it looked like. But the damage was done. Her dad called me later, voice gruff. "This isn't right, Mike. You're tearing the family apart." I said, "Clara did that when she decided to lie about me." He didn't have much to say after that. I kept my stuff in the garage, ready to go. Clara was still acting like she could fix this, but I was already halfway out the door. She just didn't know it yet. The next week was chaos, but I stayed steady. Clara was a wreck, cycling through tears, anger, and desperate attempts to pull me back in. She tried to act normal, setting out coffee mugs, suggesting we watch a movie like old times. I'd nod, keep it short, and move on. She hated it. One morning, she blocked the hallway, arms crossed, and said, "You can't keep doing this. We need to talk." I looked at her and said, "You had your say on Reddit. I'm done talking." Her face crumpled, but she didn't push. She knew I wasn't bluffing anymore. Her friends were mostly gone now. Lindsay texted me once, saying she was sorry for everything, but didn't elaborate. Jess and Tara had stopped responding to Clara's messages, and I heard from a mutual friend that they were tired of her drama. Clara tried to rally them, inviting them over for a girls' night, but nobody showed. She sat on the couch afterward, staring at her phone, and muttered, "Everyone's abandoning me." I didn't say anything. She'd made her bed, and I wasn't going to soften the landing. Her family was another story. Diane kept calling, leaving voicemails about how I was being cruel, how Clara deserved a chance to explain. I didn't answer. Emily texted me a long message, saying Clara was struggling and I should be the bigger person. I replied, she should have thought of that before trashing me online. Emily didn't write back. Clara's dad called again, this time asking if I was cheating. I laughed. "No, just tired of being her punching bag." He went quiet, then hung up. I could tell they were starting to see Clara differently, even if they didn't want to admit it. The money situation was a mess. Clara couldn't keep up with her half of the bills, and she was too proud to ask for help. The power flickered one day because she hadn't paid the electric bill. She tried to guilt me into fixing it. "This is our home, Mike." I said, "You wanted to split things. Handle your share." She cried, but I didn't budge. I'd already moved most of my stuff to the garage, my clothes, my tools, my old guitar. Clara asked again if I was leaving. I said, "I'm not staying to be your doormat." She tried to hug me, but I stepped back. Don't, I said. She locked herself in the bedroom, sobbing loud enough for the neighbors to hear. I decided it was time to show the rest of her circle the truth. I sent the Reddit screenshot to Jess and Tara, then to Emily for good measure. No commentary, just the post where Clara called me a failure and joked about finding someone better. My phone lit up with notifications. Emily called, Jess texted, even Diane sent a frantic message. Clara was home when the fallout hit. She came out of the bedroom, eyes wild, and said, "You're destroying me." I said, "You destroyed yourself. I'm just letting people see it." She tried to shove me, but I grabbed my keys and walked out. I drove around for an hour, letting her stew. When I got back, Clara was on the phone with her mom, crying so hard she could barely talk. She saw me and hung up, then tried to play nice, offering to make dinner. I said, "I'm not hungry." She started begging, saying she'd change, that she never meant it. I looked at her and said, "You meant every word you wrote. Stop lying." She collapsed on the couch, sobbing, but I didn't comfort her. I slept in the spare room that night, my bags packed. Clara's world was falling apart, and I wasn't going to pick up the pieces. I had one more move to make, and it was coming soon. It all came to a head yesterday. I woke up feeling like I'd been carrying a boulder for weeks, but also like I was finally ready to set it down. Clara was in the kitchen, pacing, her phone buzzing with texts she wasn't answering. She looked at me, eyes red, and said, "Are we done? Is that what you want?" I said, "You decided that when you posted about me online." She tried to argue, saying it was a mistake, that she was just stressed. I cut her off. "You don't get to rewrite this, Clara. You made me the bad guy for years. I'm done." She started crying, but I wasn't swayed. I'd seen her tears before, and they didn't mean what they used to. I'd already talked to my brother, Tom, the night before. I showed him the screenshots, told him everything. He just shook his head and said, "You don't deserve this, man. Get out." So, I packed a duffel bag, my clothes, my laptop, a few books, and left while Clara was at work. I didn't leave a note. I texted her later, "I'll grab the rest of my stuff when you're not home." She called me 10 times in a row, left voicemails begging me to come back, then switched to yelling about how I was abandoning her. I didn't answer. I crashed at Tom's place, sleeping on his couch, feeling lighter than I had in months. The fallout was instant. Diane called my parents, trying to drag them into it. My mom texted me, "Don't pick up. She's not your problem anymore." Clara's sister, Emily, sent me a message saying I'd wrecked their family. I replied, "Your sister wrecked herself. Check her Reddit." I sent the screenshot to my parents, too, just so they'd know the truth. My dad called and said, "I'm proud of you for standing up." It was the first time I'd felt seen in a long time. Clara's friends were done with her. Tara told a mutual friend she felt betrayed by Clara's lies. Jess and Lindsay hadn't spoken to her in days. Clara tried to post on social media, some vague thing about going through a tough time, but I heard people were calling her out in the comments. She texted me, saying I'd ruined her reputation. I replied, "You did that when you lied about me. Live with it." She didn't write back. Her mom sent me a long email, saying I'd been too harsh, that Clara was sorry. I didn't respond. I was done with their family drama. I started looking for a new place, a small apartment, nothing fancy, just mine. I got my bank accounts fully separated, took my name off the joint credit card. Clara tried to show up at Tom's one night, banging on the door, crying. Tom told her to leave or he'd call the cops. She left, but not before texting me, "You'll regret this." I blocked her number. I didn't need her noise in my life anymore. Looking back, I don't feel angry, just free. Clara thought she could control me, make me the fool in her story, but I flipped the script. She cared about her image, her friends, her perfect little life, and now it's gone. I'm not saying I'm a saint. I could have handled some things better, maybe sat her down and talked it out. But after years of her jabs, her lies, her Reddit post, I wanted her to feel what it's like to lose control. And she did. I'm starting over now. Gotta lead on a new job, something with better hours. Tom's helping me move my stuff this weekend. My parents invited me for dinner, said they're glad I'm finding my way. I don't know what Clara's doing, and I don't care. She can spin her story however she wants, but the people who matter know the truth. If you're ever wondering if it's worth standing up for yourself, even if it's messy, I'd say it is. I'm not a hero, just a guy who got tired of being stepped on. I'm choosing awkward over fake, and it feels good to finally breathe.